in 2016, I thought, let me try my hands on brokerage. And so yes, this August, I'm going to complete 5 years in brokerage. So I can say I'm since 2007. So 13 complete years I'm in this industry.
Wow, does it seem that long?
No, actually, no. Because every single day when I sit on this chair, I'm still learning. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm in this industry for long, but still every load has its own story. It's, it's you keep on learning it. It's never ending. It's not a monotonous job that you go 9 to 5 and there's a similar loads and similar trucks, and it's not the same. It's not. So that's what keep the excitement on, I would say.
I would agree, and the same thing here. For the commercial insurance space, I've only been in it 2 years, but each day is like an adventure. I'm constantly quoting. I'm quoting in various states, so I have an opportunity to see those differences. I don't think anyone out there can clearly just and confidently say they know everything there is to know about trucking, because there's so much to know about trucking and the different ways and such too. We just have a comment here that they love what we're doing to represent the minorities in the industry. Kind of share with us your experience. How has it been being in this field? Like, how do you think people receive you?
um if I take whole package, they receive me very well. It was hard at first to convince people that I can do things. I don't know, due to many reasons, I would say. But once they give a chance, they see the work, they do appreciate that. So I don't have much negative people or much negative experience in this industry. Yeah, because I've got a lot of people uh, who have helped me time to time when I was like not knowing about the industry.
Hmm.
So people in the industry have taught me about the industry. So it's like that, and I have learned from everyone, and I would give highly credit to all my drivers. I mean, they are the biggest source of all knowledge. Like, they would know what's the fuel prices, what's actually the market is,
Hmm.
and they are the actual heroes of our industry. So I do want to take this a moment and appreciate all the drivers of United States to run, whether it is snowing, it's like hard sun, it's like anything happening, it's like a hurricane, it's like any calamity, our drivers are running, and which is keeping us moving. So I do appreciate each and every drivers of our country.
Definitely. It's very much like service work, and I'm glad that you said that, because without the driver, all of the other functions don't go together, and we are all very interconnected. Your driver and the equipment, the insurance, the freight, the shipping. People need to have these goods. And just what, a month ago now, when Texas had that big freeze,
Yeah.
I mean, certain events, COVID even, really remind you of the dedication drivers have to have to their field. They have to get out there. The rest of us can be behind a desk and such and have off
Yes.
days, but they have
Yes.
to get out there.
Like staying away from family for days, and making a lot of compromising, missing a lot of personal stuff, personal anniversaries, birthdays. There are so many things when you're on the road, and making sure that you are picking up on time, delivering on time. It's a big thing. So I would
Absolutely.
urge each and every freight broker that please pay drivers if they deserve detention and if they deserve layover. Let's not try and make money
Excuse me.
there. That's not where we should focus. If they are waiting, their time has to be compensated with money. That's what we have to do. So to be a successful freight broker, people have a misunderstanding that freight broker, in the sense, okay, if you have client, if you have loads, you're good to go. No, it doesn't work that way. If you want to be successful for a longer time, you want to survive in this industry, that's our heroes, our drivers. Please pay them well, and they would give you back. I have a personal experience, they would give you back.
Yes, and on that topic of taking care of them, like you said, in addition to paying them well, you have to treat them well. Like you said, with respect,
Absolutely.
you have to honor when there is illness that happens, because we're all susceptible. You just really want to have a good line of communication. So those that may be, dispatching right now, freight brokers and stuff that are part of the group, share with us your secrets on once you find a good carrier, how do you keep them?
Yes, that's very, very important. Right now, second, I would say, second important, most important thing is how to keep your carriers with you. So once I find a carrier for my initial loads, I would go back to carrier and ask them which other lanes they would prefer me to get them.
Hmm.
Having that data, I'll go back to my clients or I will try to find those kind of loads which my carrier needs. So that's how they know that I'm making efforts so that we both can have a relationship where they can help me and I can help them. So it's a two-way communication. I mean, so once that, before they are arriving in New Jersey, my most of the freight goes out of New Jersey. So even before 24 hours or 48 hours, they'll call and say, hey Vish, we are going to be over here, do you have anything? I would ask them where you want to go, because sometimes they know that Florida is expensive, so they want that kind of lane, or California or Texas. And then I have a data where clients have those kind of lanes and I go back. So it's other way around.
Hmm.
People first go to client and get to the drivers. Yes, that's first. But once you maintain a carrier relationship, you want to do that, it works the other way around.
Hmm. And
Yes.
I think that's probably something like you just dropped a gem right there that people think it's, one way and you're just out there trying to meet those expectations of your client, the shipper, but really both sides are your client. Share with us any other myths that you hear a lot of times about freight brokering. What do people tend to think that you're really finding out that's not how it really works?
Yeah, so when I started Lada, I was like in 2016. There were not so many groups, and there were not many people who knew exactly how much knowledge is good or not. Right now, what I think, people have unnecessary of knowledge of opening a freight brokerage, and they get confused, they get scared, and then they don't take first step. So I would say freight brokerage only needs 4 to 5 things to be done. It's like you have to get your MC, you have to get your insurance, you have to get your bond. That's it. Get a proper software where it will be like where to post load, where to maintain the load, how to track drivers. So there are 5 to 6 things which you're supposed
Excuse
to
me.
do, and just start finding clients. That's all you need. You don't have to know if a trucking company is doing driver compliances or not. That's not your job. That's the trucking company's job. So let's not worry about if the drivers are okay or not. There is a process where you have to make sure that carriers and trucking company what you're using is correct, but it's not a long process. Like it's just 30 minutes and you should be done with that. Your main focus is how to find loads and how to find a carrier. That's it, and you are good to go. I'm talking about freight brokers who are not into asset. Once you own your asset, then it's altogether a different story. But I think 80% of people start without having an asset. I don't have an asset. I'm not an asset-based broker. So yes, it's simple, guys. I mean, I always say this line, and I don't know if people would believe it or not, but I am a very average girl, and if I can do it, anyone can do it, and I am saying it like with all my heart. So it's not it's hard. Of course, any work is hard. It's difficult, but it's 100% possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm a firm believer that we all were once a beginner. And so, I mean, just share that, thank you for sharing that with you. I'm seeing in the chat, they're wanting to get your contact information. If you'll kind of share that, you're going to kind of reiterate it here because we're not yet through, but I'll let you share how to best get in contact with you, as well as some of the things you have coming up here in the next couple of weeks.
Sure. So you can email me. My email would be dispatch at Venus, Venus, logistics.org. That's the easiest way to reach me. And again, I'll say it's dispatch at venuslogistics.org. And yes, we are coming up with a program which is on next Thursday. I think it's on the same time at noon. Me and Sheena, we are coming up with a whole package where I'm going to teach about brokerage, and she's going to teach about transportation. So it's going to be a combo program, which is a paid program. It's going to be a couple of hours where you're going to get the basic and useful information for you to start the brokerage and to survive it. So it's a very good program. I think I'm gonna post the flyer maybe after this, and if you guys want to know it, please join it. I'm sure you will never regret it. If you're thinking about brokerage, or if you're already in brokerage and you have not made any progress, only for those people this program would be useful. If a person is already in brokerage for 4 5 years, they have another issue, but that issue won't be covered in this program. So let me be clear in that. And
Absolutely.
yes, Lara, I have few questions for you for insurance.
Okay, I want to make sure that Miss Tamika gets her question answered when you were talking about assets based brokerage. How is
Sure,
it different? And if you just kind of even for the people who just are beginning, just tell them what an asset is.
sure. Oh, sorry. Yes, I should have
Mhm.
mentioned that. So asset means you have your own trucks, and you go to your client saying that, suppose Venus Logistics have 4 trucks, and if you have any dedicated lane from like New Jersey to Texas or New Jersey to Florida, so I have 4 drivers of my own who can help you doing that. Non-asset, which is I am, is I will go and say that, hey, I can get trucking companies do that load for you. So I don't own loads and I don't own asset, so it's like my liability towards that load is little less. It's much less, I would say.
I have a
Yeah.
question because you brought up a very interesting topic, and I see it on my end from insurance. So, in order to be an asset based broker, do you need to set up a separate carrier authority? So are you both a carrier and a broker under the same authority, paying basically that $600 fee? Or once you do your brokerage and actually own equipment, that can be under that same MC of being a broker?
So people try to do both.
Hmm.
So there are some dedicated lanes, suppose Walmart. Okay, so Walmart would actually go and say to a carrier or a broker that I would hire your 4 trucks for entire year. Okay, so in that case, a broker, regular freight broker, can just have it with proper insurance. They don't need another company for that.
Okay.
But you don't have a dedicated lanes, okay, and you need to keep your trucks moving. That's where you have to have your carrier, because you're eventually going to call other brokers to book loads.
Okay.
Yes, so that's a two different things.
Thank you for
Sometimes what
clearing that
happens,
up. Okay.
yeah, sometimes what happens that carrier have their trucks ready, and they want to go on a brokerage side, then they mix up, and then from carrier they jump to brokerage.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I've seen that, and I would encourage that side jump, starting off with the carrier and going into brokerage versus brokerage going into carrier, because the carrier regulations are stricter. As you were
Yeah.
saying, you have a lot more flexibility as a freight broker than you
Yeah.
would a carrier. There's a lot of, other safety compliance type things that are built into the carrier side. And I know from the insurance perspective, it's just more difficult to find insurance if you're shown to be both a broker and a
Yes,
carrier. So
absolutely.
I am ready for your questions now. Thank you. Thank you for that piece there too, because I see that a lot and I never really knew how to answer it other than my insurance companies telling me no. And I'm like, well, I don't know really what no means. I don't know how to describe that to them, but thank you for that education there.
Okay, so let me start from basic. That do you specialize in insuring trucks and tractor trailers both, or it's only trailers? How is it?
Yes, so my agency is just trucking. We do all kinds of trucking, but we do the auto liability, the
Yeah.
physical damage, the workers' comp if needed, where a commercial agency, cargo, contingent cargo, broker insurance. So we're able to offer more than just coverage on the physical units.
So you are if I need an insurance, you can help me too. Like for a brokers,
Mhm.
also you do insurance.
Yes. So we
Hey,
do
I
both.
should know that
Yes. Hey, next
before.
time. Next time for sure.
Yes,
Yeah, we
sure.
have both the contingency cargo as well as contingency auto because some shippers do require the auto contingent. And that contingent again just means that it pays secondary to the motor carrier's coverage, which they should have if they're
Yes.
working with you already. So
Yes, yes. And yes, over here, I would like to say when you're becoming a broker, you have to make sure that you understand basic about insurance. Because when you are actually signing up a carrier, you have to see what kind of insurance they do have. Because when you're moving a freight, you should know the value of each and every freight. If it's more than $100,000, and if your trucking company is not having that, so you have to make sure you find those kind of trucking companies. So that's one point every freight broker should know, that do know the value, do ask customer that, hey, could you please tell me what's the value of this load, and then make sure that trucking company has that, and then only move it. It's a
That
very important.
that's so wonderful because cargo, everyone likes to just say general freight,
Yeah.
whatever. There is no whatever. And so if you don't kind of check, like you said, first with your client, then with your policy, you might run into a case like I had a client that was trying to take a load of cigarettes. And cigarettes are, again, specialized. That's part of ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. So that's a whole
Yeah.
different category. It's not just little boxes. You have to have special permissions and it's higher for the insurance. And
Yes.
your typical cargo policy doesn't cover it unless it's specifically added. So this person didn't check with us until after something came up. They dropped it off. Luckily, there wasn't a loss. But should there have been a loss, they would have been totally without coverage. So,
Yes.
very important to know that your policy is a living document. You can make adjustments as needed, but try to plan. You don't want to make a whole lot of back and forth because you're going to see your rates go up and down too.
Yeah, and generally, what happens if there's a dedicated lane? If suppose I have a lane from Ohio to Texas, right? So if it's a similar load getting every single day, so I don't have to every time ask, hey, what's the commodity? Hey, what's the? It's more or less the same commodity, or more or less it's the same value. But yes, I would again urge everybody that knowledge is power. We all know that.
Mhm.
So more knowledge you will have, more knowledge you will have to, about your load, that how your load is, what commodity is that, like study your load. I mean, I know it sounds very funny right now that who's going to study load? I mean, are you crazy? But guys, I mean, there's a hidden things over there, the commodity, that same commodity you can pitch to some other client saying that, okay, I am moving tomato sauce from blah blah blah. Do you need that? If yes, then I have a special trucking company who can do that. But you would only know once you know what's the commodity. Freight of all
Absolutely.
kinds. What does that mean, freight of all kind? It doesn't solve any of my questions. Ask,
Exactly.
ask. Like the second word for brokerage is integration. You have to ask like 100 of questions without knowing the other person that you're asking so many questions. So you have to be smart enough to do that. Yes.
That's a great point, and working with a lot of brand new companies, that's a coaching thing that I actually bring up to them. Of hey, you say general freight. What is your idea of general freight? What does your
Yeah.
equipment say? What are you willing to do? Because answering those questions, if you're still flushing things out, will help you plan for the type of loads that you want because you're not going to truly want everything. And another example I kind of give coming from Texas is I'm pretty sure you don't want to haul pigs, do you? And they're like, no, I don't, I have a dry van and stuff. It's like, okay, but you told me everything. So what's wrong
Yeah.
with pigs? And they're just like, no. And I was like, that's my point. You have to kind of be purposeful, specific, a business plan, and that way you'll know what it is you're looking for when you find it. So those opportunities. Angel is saying this is very informative and thank you. And she's going to be one of your co hosts during your event next week, right? Online.
Yes,
So
yes.
Angel's on there too. And Josh also says very informative. He's given us 4 thumbs. So awesome, awesome. You had some more questions?
Yes, yes. I have like tons of questions for you.
Not
So,
tons.
all right. So, just to make it, whenever a person is thinking about insurance, they are like, it sounds critical. It's difficult to understand, right? So, what what is the simpler way if I want to start a trucking company? Okay, and if I want to know what would be my basic insurance, what is it?
Great question. So insurance serves very specific purposes. So you can be a such thing as insurance rich, if you would, by spending all your money because you're trying to be super protective. But what is your true exposure is really the conversation you should be having. So when you're working with a broker, there should be a carrier packet that's going to be really specific on what is required. We need the $1 million auto liability. We need 100,000 cargo with, no higher than such and such deductibles. It's going to be very specific. So as you work with more established brokers and shippers, they should, without hesitation, be able to give you what they call an insurance requirement sheet. So that takes
Absolutely.
a lot of the guesswork out of, do I need it? Do I not need it? But to also answer the basics question, the only thing that you need to activate your authority um, is liability. Just like your regular car insurance, you only need liability, but how much you need depends on if you're an interstate or intrastate, the type of load you do. There's a little more into it, but it's based on how you registered for your authority.
So following to that, I always wonder, like from a trucking side, so do we have to have like, suppose if I'm like from state to state, the insurance doesn't changes, does it? I mean, if I'm traveling from New Jersey to California and I have insurance from New Jersey, so that is valid from all the states in US, correct?
It is because it's based off your home state, but that's also why it's better to go ahead if when you're doing interstate crossing state lines to get the federal minimum, which is 750,000. Most people, most insurance agents will go ahead and quote you for $1 million policy because that's just kind of what everyone's used to hearing in the industry now. Let me get your million, let me see it, let me see it. But that would definitely cover because you have states like Mississippi that if you only was running in Mississippi, you'd only
Uh-huh.
have to pay 300,000. I have that on my personal insurance policy because it doesn't go far, to be honest, with trying to take care of liability. That's your biggest expense. What happens if people got hurt? We can't just assign, oh, that person's tow costs $250. We'll write that off. They have a sustainable living that they have to have, and so all of that gets brought to court, and that's really where lawyers go in and they know how to ask these questions to really get into the meat of these policies. So that's why it's really important for you to know what your policy has and what it doesn't, so that way you can be covered. Have a couple other questions here. Says all right, and I think they might have been talking to themselves because someone else answered. It says, if you do not know what you're going to be carrying from that day, what do you say? How do you pick a niche and do you stay in it? So, what are some suggested, I guess, beginner type freight?
Okay. So if you are completely a baby, who just knows that, okay, there is a career known as freight brokerage and let me try that. If you are that, then I would suggest you go with a minimum amount of risk, which would be either a 20-footer dry van or a regular 53 dry van. So over there, don't go for reefers because that's like refrigerated and it's like
Right.
tons of things you need for insurance and it's little you need a maturity to do those kind of loads. So I would say just go for minimum liability at that time and try to wherever you're staying within 50 miles, go to manufacturers, distributors, ask them what they need and how you can help them and then you prepare your niche.
Okay, and so she's just saying you don't say general freight. Correct. You wouldn't say general freight. Um, on your profile as your authority, you'll check off that general freight, but your policy is going to have to put some type of commodity. A lot of times, if you say dry goods, plastic, consumer goods of department store value, nothing high end, that's usually, I guess, would you say, kind of some of your beginning basic stuff? I mean, you don't want to take anything liquid because that's
Yeah,
yeah, that's a little, you have to be trained to do it so
yeah.
it doesn't end up all over the place. But palletized, um, pre-packaged, dry.
Yes, so it should be like simple, it should be palletized. It should be, you can start with even partials where it's not completely a full truckload. You have to quote according to, like, if suppose a customer wants only 4 pallets to be moved from point A to point B, you can start with that and with a smaller truck, and try to prepare yourself that you're not going to be millionaire in one load. So it starts with you're making $10 as a margin, $20 as a margin, so be prepared for that. That's going to happen. Maybe sometimes you might have to even take a loss to have a client, but that appetite, you should have it.
Yes, and that's kind of a relationship building tool. Sometimes you have to be the humbler one to develop trust. You might have to go in, not saying you always have to go in, and that should never be your game plan always, but there might be that time where you have to be like, you know what, let me go ahead and do this so I can have something later. So they could see my dependability, so my authority can age. There's
Yeah.
different things and stages. There's a question. Do you know what kind of hazmat you can haul with insurance that keeps at the million and not five? No, as soon as you say hazmat, that's 5 million. So I don't really know what else. It's got to do so straight truck.
I am scared of hazmat loads. I mean, my customer tell me, okay, Vish, it's a dry load. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Only one pallet is hazmat. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to do it. I mean, I'm sorry if somebody is doing a hazmat, but I think I don't have a complete knowledge, and I'm just too scared with the word hazmat, and I don't go for it.
I'm kind of on the same boat too. I had tried to kind of shop around for it, and that's when I realized everyone was just like, "No, that's a minimum. That's a minimum." People, buses, 5 million. So whenever the risk is higher, because with
Yes.
hazmat, a lot of that is cleanup. Debris cleanup is a pain. I mean, can you imagine if some glowing goo gets across the highway, a major highway, and it closes that highway for an extended amount of time, and they have to call in special people because the goo can, Spider-Man goo, as my kids call it, just, it can really, that cleanup is a lot of liability. And, you're going to probably be faced with different fines and penalties for that happening. And that's why your insurance liability is much higher for hazmat. I think that's kind of the questions here catching up online. Was there some other questions you had for me as well?
So, first of all, I want to take, I wanted to say this in the mid of our session that thank you so much for creating this group. I mean, you don't know, you have helped so many people. You have helped me to meet so many people who need help, and it's a great relationship where we all are trying to help each other, and that's the way to move ahead. I mean, I always say that it's a $1 billion industry. We don't have to have a rat race. We all can hold each other's hand and help each other.
Hmm.
And I see that minority is doing amazing job in that, and hats off to you. It's not easy to maintain a group, to see each and every post if they're following the rules and then post it. So I would like to thank you so much for your hard work. Thank you.
Well, thank you, thank you. I can definitely not take all the credit. Blaze is actually the young lady whose picture appears on our banner. She
Yes.
is the excuse me, admin, and she had the forthright from her own experience to create a forum. She wanted to create the group. I joined the group probably about 3 or 4 months later after it started. I think we're coming up on our year anniversary. I got to check that again. But I've managed different groups, and I'm a planner. That's my little, I'm a former teacher and I like planning things, putting all the dots and stuff in the right places. So I just learned some things from taking different courses on social media moderation on how to keep a safe space. And that's really my heart in it. It is a labor of love. I don't get paid for it. But to see where we can build relationships, that actually has really financially been good for my business because, as we all know, there's no better referral than one from a trusted individual. When your carrier sees someone and they've had a conversation, when you have a client that loves you so much, and without you saying, make sure you tell people, they go and tell people, that that confidence becomes contagious, and they're like, oh, I need to find out more about what she has going on. So that's how you get your referrals. That's how you build business that won't leave you, because everything else is so sensitive to their feelings and just how things happen and stuff. And I understand there's a time and place for it all, but um we want to build a safe community. We want
Yeah,
to be able to talk about issues that may not seem like they're issues to everyone else. And maybe other people don't experience it the same way we do,
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely.
Um,
Yes.
so thank you for, acknowledging, the work that goes into it. That means a lot to me personally. So I thank you for it. But this conversation here, the conversation we had yesterday, that's my into it. I love just connecting and kind of learning from people authentically and such. So my email keeps going off. All right. Thank you.
All right. And tell me something about Lara. Like, what are the myths about insurance? Like, what is the misunderstanding which is not true, which you would like to clear about it? Because it's very, very important.
Yes, the biggest myth I think that everyone thinks is everything's the same. My friend's policy should be my policy. If they're paying $5, so should I. And that's a huge myth because there's so many other factors that go into it. I mean, you can almost do where it's the same situation almost on the outside, but you're not taking into account experience. You're not taking into account credit. You're not taking into account um, sometimes the time of day. Just having a quote done on a Monday versus a Friday. Insurance is all about statistics. So if they saw, this time last year because it was a snowstorm, there was a lot of claims happening, then insurance is going to be high until that kind of comes down on that
Okay.
particular day. So, when things
Very
happen, COVID even, this time last year, lots of things were shutting down. So this is going to be our first year as everyone to see what are those effects, but we're really not going to see how that plays out for another 2 years. Most people were used to getting the discount with their renewal as long as they stayed, clean of claims and stuff. That may
Mhm.
not happen this year because these insurance companies are recouping their costs from so many people going out of business. So again, I mean, we all know, and I kind of hear it a lot. The insurance company, they're only concerned about money, and yeah, they are. But if you know how to make sure you're getting what your money's worth in the
Yes.
policies, then it benefits you as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's a like. Actually, I didn't thought about it that. Yeah, natural calamities play a big role in insurance up and down things. So, people out there, make sure that there's no natural calamity when you want to have an insurance.
Right. Definitely. I mean, some things, of course, are unavoidable, but it's an ecosystem, and when costs go up, gas, goes up, everything, all those things, all these factors. So it's really hard for someone just to walk up to you and say, how much is insurance? It's like,
Mhm.
tell me the secret of life. It's like, I can't say anything. I don't know. You haven't given me enough information. So
Information.
just
Yes.
being able to have someone to talk to about it. So I'm also the type of person that if I see that, hey, what you're thinking about is really risky. Is this something you really want to do right now?
Uh huh.
Versus adding on as you get more experience and such, I'm going to make the suggestion. But ultimately, your policy is your policy. You can't get off on the whole, no one told me because they should have. And then you're going to sign paperwork that says, there's the paperwork, and so you don't really have a legal comeback to saying, oh, I didn't know. You signed the paperwork, And they're saying, yes, you could have read it, even though no one wants to read it, but it's there. And so having someone to talk it out is really important.
Great. So I would like to take a moment over here and say to all freight brokers out there who are trying to, start opening or, thinking about it. So you don't have to have insurance at first place. Like I didn't had insurance for 4, 5 months when I started because I didn't knew what kind of insurance my client wants, you know. So first find clients, I would say, and if they are every client would need an insurance, no doubt about it. But it's no harm in having
Hmm.
a client first and then fulfilling his or her requirement according to the insurance. Insurance can wait for 3, 4 months, but then yes, you have to have it. But it's not like a surety bond. You need to have it to open a brokerage. You need to have an MC number. Yes, you do need that. But if your client is asking, do you have an insurance, then you can say, yes, I've applied for it, or you're thinking about it, just let me know what are your requirements. And then once you don't have it and still you need to move freight, make sure your trucking company which you're hiring, a carrier, has the same requirement what shipper needs. So that's a very, very important thing. Don't be in hurry to move your first load. I mean, uh, wait, like, once you get a load, wait for it, study it, find the right trucking company, study their insurance, and then go for it. I know I got overexcited when I got my first load, and as soon as my client said that I'm going to fax you, he just said me, and I was standing near a fax machine that he's going to send, and I waited over there for 20 minutes because I was so excited. So don't do like me, I mean. Yeah, just have patience, study it, know what you're getting into it, and then go for it.
Definitely. Like I said, the shipper will let you know specifically what they need.
Yes,
And anyone who can't tell that to you, that's a red flag because
yes,
that might have been their first time doing it. They might be trying to push something through that hasn't been approved. So everyone should already have that information. It's not a uncommon question. It's actually probably the second question asked besides give me your MC number. It's like,
yes,
well, where's your insurance? And so make sure that you understand what it is you're giving. Everyone doesn't deserve to see it. That's
yes.
a whole nother conversation, but be protective of it. But there's a lot of information that is still available online, so you
Yes.
just got to know to be
I would also
cautious on
like to
that.
ask you, Lara, that if suppose a person's credit is not good, okay, and does that affect insurance premium or insurance quote or something?
It does. It's not a direct credit score that gets you, but the credit consideration is part of their model. They look at where you are credit wise, and it does impact your score. So if you're in a partnership, maybe even husband and wife, you're going to have to choose one person to represent the financially responsible party. Even with an LLC, even with a business, you still have to have a financially responsible party that's going to kind of hold this. So most trucking companies, have it established under their business, but it still has a little bit of a link to your personal credit.
Okay, okay, okay. And do you offer financing?
Yes, we have a relationship, I'm sorry, with one company, a factoring company, TBS out of Oklahoma, that does a down payment assistance program
Yeah.
for us. And so they go over the qualifications, but we do work with them for some additional down payment assistance help.
Okay, okay, okay. So there is. Okay, great. And um, how are you different from other insurance people? I know how are you different, but I want you to say to everyone, how are you different? I mean, do you only do insurance or how is it?
Just as we both kind of indicated, when you've gone through some trials and errors in life, I think it makes us more sensitive to when other people might be struggling too. And for the better part of my adult life, I didn't know what it was I wanted to do, and I still sometimes say that today. I don't know what it is I want to do. And so when someone has an interest, I just like to listen, and I present information to them so they can make an educated decision. So,
Okay.
there's so many places you can get an insurance quote, just like real estate agents. You can get online, you can go look at a lot of stuff online purely by yourself, but having a relationship with someone who understands you, that can kind of almost see the questions that you haven't asked directly, but just say, hey, you might kind of think about this. This is what I've seen, give you some insight. That's really how we're different. My sister and I are in this company together. She has a lot of experience in insurance, so she can go in and out. I'm more of the, I guess, the marketing person, and I'll kind of say, what is it you're trying to do? And have you explored these particular options and resources? So we're here to do more than just sell insurance. We're here to actually make sure you're sustainable
Okay.
for the long run. So connecting to people such as yourself, factoring companies, all these other resources that are out there, that if we wanted to and just say, oh, all we do is insurance, we'd be
Yeah.
within our lane to do so. But to share that information in formats like this, in a group and just get conversations going, I think that's that next step that makes us different.
So I could say that you are my girl who knows about everything. Like if I need a factoring company, ask Clara. If I need a brokerage training or a dispatching training, because like 10,000 people in the group who is doing what, right? So
Right.
you person who would you who get who I can come and ask questions and I will get the right guidance, right?
Right, definitely. I mean, like you said, I do have an insider's view of the group, but I am not one that sits there and tries to claim I know it all. Like you were saying earlier, I'm learning. And so I'm going to say this is what I've seen and encourage you, based on what I've seen. And then I even ask for feedback. How did that work? Did
Yes.
they listen to you? Were you even able to catch up with them? And it's constantly evolving. But yeah,
Okay.
groups like this where we encourage you to talk and reach out is very important. Like you said, the safe space.
Yes, because feedback does matter because there are many people who are doing insurance. There are many people who are coming up with a dispatching program, with a brokerage program. Many people are good. And, if a person wants to really learn, like they can just ask you, which one do you prefer, and then you can give a suggestion that, okay, this is what you can do. So that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's,
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Please share your contact information again. And she is part of the group, if so she's been actually since the beginning. So
yes. So my email would be dispatch@venuslogistics.org. And we are coming up with a program which is going to be next Thursday. I'm going to share it and comment the flyer. It would be a compact program where you would be learning about transportation, about brokerage, how to start and how to survive it. It's going to be a paid program for 2 hours. It's going to be $200. If you're thinking about it, if you want to, if you want to ask questions, and if you're thinking about to join this industry, I think you will get a great insight, and then you can decide if you want to go ahead or not. And yeah.
Well, absolutely. And so again, you can reach me through Messenger. It's basically my phone now. So just go into Messenger. I'm in the mod part of the group. So if you need help with any posts that you see are inappropriate and ones you want more information, most of the when we have a conversation with someone who is being featured and sponsored, we have that conversation. Are you open to the feedback? It's really important for us because that's the kind of culture we want to create. And, if the person's not comfortable, they give an email address and such. But for the most part, anyone who is sharing their information is open to receiving feedback, requests for more information. So as you're watching and you're seeing some good stuff from the people posting, feel free to reach out, feel free to comment and engage with the group. That's really how you make the most of this setting.
Yes, and I would again say that um, I think few of the person who knew what makes me happy, and I would say transportation is the place. I started my career with transportation. I was 19 when I started, and I don't know anything besides this. I don't know, if I was not doing transportation, what would I have done, I don't know that. So yes, I am very very positive about whoever is thinking, either they want to buy a truck, or they want to be dispatching, or insurance, or brokerage, anything. I mean, it's a beautiful industry. We have everything transparent. It's no loopholes, like, here and there, it's fine. And it's a beautiful industry, and I have enjoyed my this many years with it. So if somebody wants to really get into it, please get in touch with me and we can have a word.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. So this is going to be on the replay. If you are watching the replay, please let us know so we can really make sure that we're on here so you can ask questions at the correct time. We want to make sure this is a fully engaging and effective way to communicate all this information. You don't have to sign up first. You can kind of get to know the people to see if this is a program for you. So hopefully you've gotten to know the both of us. She has the program, I do not. So you can get more information that way. But thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
We're going to end. I don't see any other questions on here. Just kind
Okay.
of leave it just for a few more moments. Let me actually refresh it because I know I have a little bit of a delay. Excuse me. All right. So I didn't see any other new questions posted. So we'll go ahead and end the video. And thank you
Okay.
again for your time. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye.